The reason people don't like you isn't because you're not a likable person. It's because you're not doing the right things that opens you up to being liked.
If you care to be the most likable person in your circle, do the unforgivable thing that no one talks about. It's honestly the thing that no one talks about, but everyone is terrified of doing. This is 3 things that'll make you more likable.
Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
Welcome back, Evolvers. It's Emilia.
Emilia got me a little dysregulated with her intro. It's
The
funny.
wink. The
You
wink
broke
it
you.
got
You shook my paradigm. It's good. It's good.
ya.
I am someone. I know you never struggled with this, which there's a little envy there. I gotta be honest, a little bit, but that's fine.
Hey.
I was never someone that people just gravitated towards and that people liked. And in all honesty, I didn't like myself. So that was the first issue. But I was never somebody that, I wasn't the person everybody wanted to be friends with. I wasn't the person that everybody invited to their parties as a kid. I wasn't the person that had a ton of friends. I don't say this to shame myself. I just say it because it was true. I was the awkward girl who sat alone in the corner by herself, feeling sad that nobody wanted to come up to her. And honestly, that didn't go away until the last few years, which is sad, but true. And what we're going to talk about today are the things that I wish I knew about what it means to actually be likable that would have saved me a lot of heartache. Let's just get something off right off the bat, okay? You're not going to like this. Everybody hears this and they roll their eyes when they hear it, but you're rolling your eyes because you're not doing it. You do have to start with a foundation of liking yourself first. We don't like hearing that because it's oh my God, I've heard it already. Tell me something new. You want something new because you're not doing the thing that you know you need to, which is processing through the shame or the self-criticism that's keeping you from liking yourself. Because it's going to be hard to do these things that we're talking about if you hate yourself. Now, I'm not saying you have to be madly in love with yourself in order for other people to like you, because that's not true either. But there is a middle ground to this. You have to like yourself enough to go do what we are going to talk about. You are somebody who never really struggled with this. You did really love yourself and you were life of the party. You were always super popular. Everybody loved you. It was a whole thing. What is the first thing that made that possible? Why was it that people gravitated toward you and wanted to be around you?
Oh, why is it that people gravitated towards me and wanted to be around me? So let me just say, I need to share to the contrast of just a little bit of context for anyone that is joining us and hasn't really gotten a little bit of the data. So just recently I downloaded this great course, which I'm such a big fan of great courses. Just tiny aside, it's one of the best ways to streamline learning about something into your brain. It's beautiful. Anyone want to send me a free course? Got you. The great courses. Anywho, with that being said, I downloaded it and the title is your teenager's brain. And I was interested in that because obviously in the future, I do plan on having children, and just in general, I find brain development so fascinating. Always have, always will. And specifically the teenager brain. I wanted to really look at from this lens of being 30 years old and having so much research now underneath my belt and understanding. And I just really wanted to like learn about that from the context of a prospective mother one day, rather than the 13-year-old version that I used to learn from of prospective mother one day, right? Total two different humans there. Why I share that is because in one of the chapters, it brought up a really critical component that I think is like so meaningful to fold into the conversation of how I answer your question, because it's very critical around the developing years to understand how our brains work to navigate this likability complex. So to the point that you said a little bit earlier, you might not have felt wanted or lovable or inherently likable. And when we're younger, that is really difficult that's a really difficult experience, because why I folded in the narrative around the teenager's brain, it's not just teenagers, but even younger, we need, when we're kids and growing young adults, we really do need the social group that we have. Our friends become so fundamental to our development, especially as we start to get into those teen years. And if we don't have a baseline feeling of lovability, of worthiness, of wanted in social groups, that has a really big impact on us. And so when I was younger, I I know that people gravitated towards me because now I see this and I have to share this. Like, I do know that genetically speaking, I am on the statistical end of beautiful. And I don't say that to sound arrogant or to sound full of myself. I think that it's a naive component for me to say what I'm about to say after that, but it's important for me to own that. I do know that beauty gravitates naturally more attention. And so from a young age, I was the quote unquote stereotypical beautiful little girl. And so a lot of people would inherently gravitate towards me for that first component, right? Like, she has blue eyes. Oh my God, those are the bluest eyes I've ever seen. I've been hearing that since I was a little kid. So like that, even if it's not beauty, it's wonder. It's like, oh my God, blue eyes, and the meaning underneath that. So that was one of the first things. Now, aside from that, I had been taught to really, and again, it sounds cliche, but like, not focus and compare myself to others. And I got to give my mamas a big shout out on this, because she really, the way in which she went about doing that was really refocusing my energy as a young kid on me, and like, not in a selfish way, but like from a place of developing that sense of self and self-love and self-compassion and self-acceptance, and really healthy child development in that regard. So big clap to her. But like, I didn't realize it at the time, B. So like, if you were to ask that 13-year-old or that 7-year-old version of Emilia, like, I wouldn't have said that. Like, that's why people gravitate towards me. I would have said at that time it was because I have such a positive attitude, right? Because that's the time what I knew it as. I was always energetic, outgoing, very likable, very charismatic, so approachable, non-judgmental to a fault. So like, very compassionate to everyone, and loving so wholeheartedly, very bubbly, very able to hear people and see people at the deepest levels that so few people could, and really listen to someone and hear them out, hear their pains. And I could hold space, and to this day, that's still the case. I could hold space and be emotionally available to them, attuning to where they really were at, as opposed to what the story that they were telling themselves, or that they felt like they have to tell their parents, right? So like, that from the get was all of that mix, all that combination was what inherently set the foundation of my quote unquote likability as a young girl. I want to share this with you. Over the years, I've learned you actually don't have to love yourself in order to be likable. You can completely contort yourself into this version of yourself to have the facade of likability. And a lot of people, unfortunately, have done that. And at different points of my life, I now realize that I had done that too. And so now what I think is actually quite ironic is I'm actually less likable now than it was back when I was younger, because I've realized some of the downsides of being likable at the expense of being myself. So being likable is, how can I make sure that my peer group attaches to me? How can I make sure that I have friends? How can I make sure that I have a boyfriend, or whatever is socially relevant? Attachment, right? That was really big at that time. But that was at the expense sometimes of my authenticity, me being able to be quirky, to be bubbly, to be weird, to be more introverted, right? And so now as I shift gears and learn this version of me of like, I am going to be likable, but not at the expense of my authenticity. Like, I'll show up on this mic, and you and I have talked about this, like, I will be more authentic to me now than I ever have had the capacity and willingness and capability to do so. And will I lose friends of that? Will I lose connections? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, if I don't, I'm concerned, right? And I'd rather be respected at this age than likable. But that's not where everyone's at, and everyone has their own journey. So I just wanted to give a little bit of that context and background to now share where I am at now and how people gravitate towards me. The through line is my insatiable curiosity and wanderlust for life. Like, I really do. I'm obsessed with life. I love living life. I am insatiably curious. And I've learned over the years that that is something that people have never come across before. And when you add all of those components that I've had and talked about before, plus that like insatiable thirst for not just life, but for human learning and understanding people at the deepest level, like that's where I'm at now.
Number one, I'm so glad you said that. Thank you for highlighting that. We are not talking about being likable because you're bullshitting your way through life, suppressing who you actually are, and just getting people to like you. We will never advocate for that, because that's what leads people to complete suicide, or to start using substances, or to be complete shells of human beings. We are saying you have a strong relationship to self, which is why I started with that. And because of that, people gravitate toward you. And you already kind of said all three, but I'm going to sum them up based on everything that you just said. Number one, being approachable, not just from a beauty standpoint, because again, we don't say this to be cruel. The world is, this is reality, okay? Not everybody's attractive. Not everybody is conventionally attractive. Not everybody is the most gorgeous thing in the world. But that also that's not going to make or break whether or not people like you.
Yeah.
Think about, oh my God, what the hell is his name? Danny
and if
DeVito.
they do,
Danny
then
DeVito's
they're very shallow. Yeah.
Danny DeVito is a gremlin. People love him. Like, nobody cares. He's like a hobbit. It's not about attraction.
No.
That is important, right? But it's not the end all be all. You can be really likable and not be attractive. So being approachable, what does that mean? When I hated myself the most, and when I struggled in relationships, I was not approachable at all, and I didn't realize it. I thought I was approachable because I thought I was a nice person, but it's not just about that. It's about body language. I was completely closed off. I had a sunken energy. I was like hiding myself and contorting myself and visibly looking sad and unhappy and like angry. And that made nobody want to come up to me. Why would you want to gravitate towards someone who looks like that? You don't. So nobody came up to me because I gave off this really unapproachable, undesirable energy that people didn't want to come around. So having a more open, approachable energy makes, number one, you feel better, and then you have a higher probability of going up and going around people. And then number two, it's going to make people want to come up to you.
Right. There's that component.
Evolve Ventures has a tremendous amount to offer. Not only do they have an ever-growing but still welcoming private Facebook society full of like-minded individuals, They also offer individual coaching. I myself have been coached by both Bianca and Emilia on separate occasions, and it's amazing to look back even a year ago in my life and see how far I've come. You almost don't notice that you're doing better for yourself over time. Not to mention, Out of the Mud, free live virtual event once a month. Can't think of a better way to spend a Wednesday night. You truly can encapsulate the value that it carries unless you've been there yourself and been part of the conversations and the connections that happen, and just access to that kind of information. The resources are just incredible.
I know you weren't finished with that sentence, but I want to dig in and zoom in there for a hot sec.
Go for it.
Okay. Approachability. When we actually really look and analyze that, whoever listens and joins us in this conversation and like thinks about that, I remember for me, approachability, even to this day, is still an interesting concept for me to like examine and reflect. It's kind of like that, like monster underneath the bed that you're not really sure, like if you're like naming it accurately. I'm thinking of Monsters Inc. Cute. Anyways, approachability is like your willingness to be authentic to yourself. And I really want to zoom in on that because you mentioned body language, right? Approachability is when you go to, let's say, an event that you might have exposure to humans, right? Like you might go to a barbecue, or you and I were talking about farmers markets the other day. You know, are you smiling? Just let's start there. Are you smiling, right? Someone who has a smile on their face rather than a grimace or like a scowl is going to be statistically speaking more approachable for most people. Now, what if, like, this is actually funny because when I'm out to eat with my parents who are like in their 50s, if you were to be like walking up to our table and it's low lighting, they have like a scowl on their face, but it's because they're losing their eyesight. And so they're like trying to read the menu. So why I share that is because in their energy, though, they are very approachable because their energy is conveying that they want to talk, they want to engage, they're willing to receive a bit of connection for anyone that walks by. And so unconsciously, our neuroception is saying, okay, they're kind of scowling at me, but like their energy seems like light and open and endearing. And so like the smile, it's not a forced smile. It's not one that you're pretending to be welcoming and exciting to meet people or exciting to engage. Like, what is your authentic smile? I know if you go back to our podcast way back when, Bianca, she's smiling right now more authentically than ever, but Bianca was programmed to never smile in her culture and her upbringing.
I was the
like,
RBF queen.
Yes, RBF. And so like
that's what I was known for. That was literally what I was known for. RBF.
Right. And that's, you know, I highlight that because cultural context plays a lot to, and multicultural identity like plays a component of this, of like, if I were to be in a different culture and I were to have a smile on or a scowl, like that means very different things or illuminates an element of approachability or their lack thereof. And so context really does play a big role to this. Body language, right? What is the most authentic version of yourself that you can show up and live and exist and coexist in? That's approachability at its core, because that's an energy, right? People say vibe check when they go to different places and different coffee shops or bars or whatever. The vibe check is how much are you showing up in alignment with your most authentic, highest self.
You then talked about being a wanderlust and like really having this insatiable curiosity for life and this love for life. That is number 2. Are you someone who is enamored by life and by other people and just the experience of getting to be here? If not, it's going to show up in your energy. And that definitely was something for me. I didn't build any sense of self. I didn't care about the world. I just wanted to be liked. I was optimizing for getting this person to like me, but I had nothing to like. There was nothing about me. I didn't have a personality. I didn't have hobbies. I didn't have interests. I didn't have anything relevant to talk about. So it was like, this is why I say all the time, people pleasing is manipulation. I was trying to get people to like me when number one, they didn't, and number two, there was nothing to like about me. And I don't say that from a shaming space. I don't say that.
They can't like you if there's nothing there to like.
Exactly.
In your shell of yourself. Yeah.
Exactly. So they're not liking anything I'm trying to force them to like me, but there wasn't a me to like.
Right.
This dives into the third point, which is something that you said too, like you deeply felt people. You weren't focused on you. You weren't focused on what do I look like and what does my hair look like and how do I feel and oh my God, what are they thinking about me? And oh my, I sure as shit was. That's why nobody was able to like me, because I wasn't able to be curious about the person sitting in front of me and have a conversation with them about their experience and their hobbies and their interests and their passions and so on and so forth. It was just like, do they like me?
Yeah.
How do I look?
Yeah.
Do I look ugly? Does my face look weird? Oh my God, what is my body doing? Oh my God, my stomach just gurgled. Did they hear that? It was so completely self-focused, so much so that you couldn't build a relationship. And I didn't. So if you can learn how to really do these three things, being approachable in your energy, having a deeper curiosity for life, and being emotionally attuned and emotionally available enough to sit there with another person and actually engage in dialogue, you will be so likable, because number one, you will feel so good about you that people are naturally gravitated toward you.
When you say naturally gravitated towards you, I have a memory that came just forward me and I want to share it. So Alan and I were on the basketball court. This was like last summer, and we go to like basketball, or we'll do soccer or whatever for our exercise to kind of switch it up between the hiking and the walking and the running and the weight training, because that's usually our go-to cycle. And B, this one time we were at the basketball court and we were playing. It was kind of like right around sunset. It was really quite beautiful. And right next to the basketball court, there was a fence. So it went all along the basketball court. And on the other side of the fence, there was like a baseball field, and a baseball team was playing. It was around summertime. And so you have the baseball field going. You have all the parents kind of lined up that are like Alan and I's age, all along the fence. And then there's like the moms who are chasing after their like toddlers that are like just be bopping around, and the dad's kind of hanging with their drinks and like watching their kids play on the field. And so like we're playing basketball, and there was this little cute little toddler who had, I have to put this little detail, she had these cute rainbow Crocs on, and she was the cutest little thing. This like poofy hair, like just so kind of that toddler disheveled look that like you just wish you could be as an adult. And she was running around all over the place, and Alan and I were playing, and then all of a sudden she like just like runs right into our half court, because we took up half court, and she just stares there, and she's just like staring at us, and just staring and staring. And her mom, you could tell, was just like, can you come back? Can you come back? I forget her name, but like it was almost like the mom was so insecure, because I could tell she was comparing herself to me in that moment. And then she's looking at Alan. Alan's like all sweaty, and he's big and he's beefed up. And so she was just like, let me get my kid back from you guys. But why I share this was, it was like the child was just so gravitated to Alan and I, and just looking at us like, oh my God, who are you guys? Like, and the mom, when she was like, sorry. We're like, no, it's okay. Like that happens all the time. When we go out in public, parents and people that are our age and older, their energy just gravitates towards us. They can't help but look. They can't help but break their necks. They can't help but want to try to connect with us in all these weird ways, right? I was talking about that old dude at the gym that just can't help himself. Shout out to the old man. But why I share this is because that little girl, once her mom kind of like pulled her away, she's like, come on, let's go, and like trying to like get away. The little girl came back again and again, probably 3 different times, because she just wanted to be around our energy orb, right? Because Alan and I are these two humans that just like exude all of these things, and we're so ready to get after life, and we're so eager for life, and we're so like having fun and in love and all these things. And I share that because when we cultivate the energy within to really love and like ourselves and really admire and respect ourselves, that energy precedes us when we walk around. And there's an amazing book that changed my life by it's like bioenergetic healing or something, which talks about the actual energy orb by Consior or something. I'll have to get it, but it actually showcases how your energy is like, it's outside of you, right? It's outside of you. You represent a frequency, and people get gravitated towards that. And little kids don't have the ego developed that adults do. Little kids will just come to you if they like you. Like, they don't care because they don't have this ego developed. When we're adults, we have these egos and we say, okay, I like that person, but I don't know, her approachability, it might be off, or like, I don't know, I might feel less than if I actually go and try to make friends, or there's not a hobby that I can really connect with. For example, I had a relationship talks event, or I'm sorry, a relationship talks couple that we did a free coaching call today. And as new parents, they're kind of struggling to learn how to like each other, not like each other, but like in a sense, yeah, because they kind of lost a little bit of who they are, and they lost a little bit of what their meaningful hobbies are, and they're like relearning how to like themselves again and how to like each other again through that. And so like this likability factor, it shows up in so many different relationships. And again, I just want to refocus on when we cultivate and pour back into ourselves, when we learn how to respect ourselves, when we learn what is it about our cackle that we love, when we learn what is that little quirk that we have that we were taught to reject when we were younger, but actually it's what sets us apart. And that's what keeps in the memory of us when we're not there, right? Like that is what allows people to gravitate towards you in a way that like is inexplicably amazing. And so again, it's not about being likable because you want them to like you for a version of you that you've created for them. Mm-hmm. You want to be likable for a version of you that you created to love and really, really like yourself. So that's my final sentiment and closing comment.
Why you gotta call out my cackle, man?
Because I love it. It's the nuance that makes you uniquely you. And if you suppress that to be likable, it would force people to like a version of you that isn't actually you. So I love your cackle. I love your initial stoicism. I love your natural smile. I love you and I like you, and it's all happy jazz. Okay. In closing, our episode suggestion is I've got a girl crush. Just kidding. Okay. 370, Why We Fear Imposter Syndrome is the second. We like to have fun on this one. All right. B, what is your closing statement? And yeah, whatever. Do your thing, girl.
You got me all hot and bothered now. Oh my God.
Well, it started with a wink, ended with the hot and bothered. It's a good episode. Anyone else? Just kidding. All right. I'm going to stay professional eventually. I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows? All right.
Oh, Jesus. The hell is my closing sentiment? you keep like shifting my state.
Lock it up.
I lived a life for the majority of my life where I hated me and just wanted other people to like me, and it was whatever version I thought that they needed me to be, and therefore I never realized who I was, and I never was able to build a relationship with who I was. And it is the reason why I had no friends and nobody liked me. So when you start focusing on building the relationship to self and learning to love that and projecting that into the world, that is the secret sauce. Like, that is the formula. That's the formulae. You gotta follow that, and that's what will get you everything. I don't know if you ever watched SpongeBob, so I don't know if you got the reference.
No, that's really cute. I was just thinking about Chick-fil-A sauce and how delicious that is, so it's all good. how delicious,
All
but
right.
how poor it is in the macros. But anyways,
Yeah.
very
right.
cute.
328. Why friendships are so hard when we grow up. All right, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you are looking for a place where you will be safe enough to be your most beautiful, authentic self, click the link in the description and join Evolve Venture Society. We have almost 300 people in that group. It's a group of wonderful, like-minded humans just like you who want to grow, who want to do awesome things in the world, and who are looking for friends. A lot of the people in the group joined it because of the fact that they wanted to make friends with other people just like them. So if that is you, click the link, join the group. We cannot wait to see you there. Bye, everybody.